So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life, and today I have with me a lady I recently discovered. I discovered her conversation with Charlie Freak, and I absolutely loved her point, the way she came across, the fact of her own journey I thought was fascinating. So Alpa Soni, welcome to the Dharma Life podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me, Aloise. I'm really honoured and humbled. Thank you.
No, it's going to be fantastic. We've already had a bit of a chat, and I would love for you to explain, because obviously, now is such an incredible time on Earth. If we understand what is happening on the planet, I would love for you to kind of share your awakening journey, if that is okay with our listeners.
Yeah, gosh, you're right. Well, everyone, hello, and a very, very humble hello. I have been on this awakening journey for quite some time, Aloise. However, come March this year, when all this stuff was coming out about the coronavirus, I actually lost my dad's sister to this right at the start, and things weren't adding up for me. It just didn't make sense, and there was just so much drama going on, as we all know. The news was just bombarding us with negativity. I don't actually watch the news myself much, so even though I had it on for that 1 week, something was happening to me, as it has been for years, which is this inner anxiety starts that rejects anything now that I know to be false. So it's like this sort of inner superpowers that we all have. But
I love it.
Do we have the eyes to see, or the inner standings to understand what's going on, or inner stand, as I say in the Charlie Freak show? So it kind of started then, as where I woke up very, very quickly. It was like
instantaneous by the sound of things.
Instantaneous.
And how did that look and feel? Like, was it a kind of inner knowing? Like how did that actually play out?
Good question. It was instantaneous, and it was grief.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, of course.
It was grief, and it was very specific, Aloise. So I say on all the chats that I've done with Charlie Freak, and all of the various ones that I've been on, and we've discussed the truth, and it's all been motivated with the discovery of what horrible things have been happening to the children, like so many people out there that have known for years, but they've had this.
I was not awake to the extent of it. I thought it went on in Hollywood, but I didn't realize that we have a whole second biggest industry after drugs, like crime.
It's actually even worse. When you go really, really deep and you find out just how horrible and disgusting the whole thing is, I couldn't fathom what was that we had this type of stuff existing on the planet. Maybe because I just cocooned myself for 10 years prior to me finding out about this, which I'll explain later. But when I found out about that, it just had an enormous impact, where I had to actually stay off work for 2 weeks. I couldn't cope. I was horrible. I was crying all the time. And so that's how the awakening journey happened, with grief.
And was it kind of like, because again, I'd love to kind of know the kind of ins and outs of it. What did you you said things weren't adding up, and then what did you do? Did you go onto YouTube and start looking, like, how did it physically play out?
It started off with somebody sending me a video of something, and then it opened up my eyes. It started opening up a web of like thought-provoking questions and things that didn't add up with the statistics of the virus. And I didn't actually buy it in the beginning. The reason being is something from an inner plane was telling me, this is absolutely nonsense. Something's not adding up here. I'm not saying that the virus doesn't exist.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the difference. When people are saying, oh, it's a hoax, well, what you're saying, and what are these people dying for? That's a separate issue.
Conversation, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a separate conversation. I think that, everything is so interconnected, and I keep saying to the children now, I woke up, it was instantaneous, as you said, and it took me down the rabbit hole into places I would never even imagine going, but it was very quick. And then I think, because I'm on this spiritual journey where I was seeing synchronicities prior to this anyway, about 2 years before, the numbers had started appearing in my life. So I think for me, that's where it started, like, the 11/11 journey. I started seeing the number 11/11, which so many people are seeing now. And I know what happened on the 11th of 11th last year, but I'll go into that a bit later. And like, it's the light codes that were embarked onto the planet. Each and every single person will have been zapped with it, because it would have been the catalyst for all of us actually sort of getting this energetic power to, at some point in their journey, everyone's on their own journey, to feel something's not right, and the sense of uneasiness that started to happen to humanity. And it would have started a lot longer than that, but started seeing synchronicities in numbers, and really bizarre things were just like the people I was connecting with, and for me, understanding things about that person without actually knowing why I know what I know about them.
So just your intuition speaking to you.
It's my intuition, obviously, that's screaming at me. That has been my whole life. But just, again, do we choose to have the eyes and the inner feeling?
We're not taught to understand it, are we? We're taught to dismiss it, because we're taught to be in our left brain, not our right brain.
Absolutely. And I've always been a bit of an oddball like that. I question things. I've been a very deep and like feelings person, and sensitive to people's pain. If someone tells me they've got a problem, it's almost like I take that on my sort of shoulders. Yeah. Incredibly, I didn't even know what an empath meant, but then a healer once said that that's what you are. So then I learned to like decipher what energy I need to take, and what where I have to sort of protect myself. But prior to that, I had an awakening. It would have started 10 years ago, Aloise. I think started with my
take
health.
Us back to where it kind of, because obviously I do believe, Alpa, that we awaken. Obviously we can't awaken in one go, it would be far too much, so we kind of awaken in stages. So I'd love you to take us back to kind of the first instance where you kind of thought, hold on, there's more to life than I'm being told here.
Well, it would have started around 2009, beginning of 2010, where I had a great job, career. I actually even I used to have my own little show on ZTV. I had my own presenting job, and on the side, outside my successful career, I was doing very, very well for myself. And stuff happened, and lost my job, like a lot of people did back then. I come from financial services, so I come from I won't say corporate world, because I've always worked for myself. I've always been self-employed. But yeah, I was working in a great environment, and then suddenly, one by one, I started losing everything. And then what led to a host of decisions that weren't in my highest interest, and lots of stories began to unfold in my life. So I was met with a few twists and turns, and then suddenly my health kind of took a dive.
So that, Alpa, in Dharmic terms, just to point out to our listeners, and possibly to you, because it's kind of new information, but when we go off our path, the universe will do that to us. So it will almost close the doors. You get made redundant, you lose your relationship, because actually this right path of action, you've strayed a little bit too far. So the universe will go, okay, hold on, we need to recorrect her. And of course, at the time, those situations really feel like, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. But and then obviously you're going to tell us about the health stuff, but there's always a purpose for us to kind of shift us back on. But sorry, carry on about the health journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I agree with you there, because it is ultimately we are all trying to journey back home to ourselves, and it's the path to self-love. So all these twists and turns that happen are all there, pertinent to your spiritual growth, to your personal growth, to your development, and everything that happens is for a reason. It sounds a bit corny when you say, oh, everything happens for a reason, but it really does. It's there to grow you as a human being. And whatever has happened in your life, good, bad, or ugly, it's there to, it's your script that you've come in with in this life. You've come in to learn these lessons, and you will be presented with certain patterns and things that happen to you over and over again if you're not learning what this is trying to tell you. So I was just going off piste, as I say, like when I love doing that when I go skiing. I was just going off piste a little bit, like finding my own way in this world now, outside the clutches of a job. And I was adventurous, and I was just making risky moves and stuff, and they were all not working. It was one failure after the other, and eventually it had a knock-on effect on my health. So
almost like a sort of dark night of the soul, as in Would you
100%.
say it was?
Yeah, there was all of the things that encompass that dark night of the soul, where you know go to places where you don't imagine. But that's what some of the best places to begin, because you learn so much about yourself and who you are, and you're always learning about yourself.
And I think it's, good point for us to talk about, because I think a lot of people now are as the higher energy comes onto the planet, as we ascend, all the stuff that we haven't seen before, we're suddenly starting to see. And so people are having these dark night of the souls. A lot of people in our community, I know, are going through career changes, job changes, relationship changes. And that tends to happen when we are about to kind of go through a transitional period.
Yeah, and it does. And it was during these times which made me inquire about, my health. And so the universe presented me a job where I was just helping a friend to work in a naturopathic spa, a spa that looked after like people's health, and on the other side of alternative medicine. And we did colonic irrigation. It was
stuck a tube up your bottom.
Sticking a tube up your bum, yeah, bum flushes. So I work basically not as a bum flusher, but worked with bum flushers and naturopaths. And
that's the technical term.
Yes. So I was trying to just think, let me just put this like correct. But anyway, I love the raw and authenticity of it. So I worked with them, and I learned a lot about myself from my health perspective. I've been a vegetarian my whole life, but that doesn't necessarily mean I was healthy.
Sure. Coming
from the Hindu background, cultural background, never grew up with meat. So the concept of meat was just alien to me anyway. I never liked it. I tried it, but just didn't sit with me, just from an energetic plane. And I know now why, especially with where my path is and where it's heading. So I still wasn't healthy. I've always been slim. I've never had any issues with my weight or anything like that. But I started feeling incredibly tired all the time. So it's like my adrenal system was completely depleted from this kind of trials and tribulations I had. So long story short, it taught me about where I was making all the bad food choices, and how it impacted my psychological frame of mind, etc. Anyway, sort of fast forward, so that was around 2011, 2012. And then I moved to South Africa for a while, and I had all these understandings about my health and stuff, but still my spiritual side was a bit neglected. Yeah, I've always believed in a higher power. I at one point thought, I've always questioned the existence of God. There's a lot of conformity within some of our practices that we are told to do within the way I was brought up.
We should so we've got to do this. We want to.
You're going to do the puja, bow your head down to God, eat the prasad, do this. But I would always say, Mum, why do we have to do this? And bless, my mum's a very religious person. So I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone from my background or anything like that. I just always used to question, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? Why do I have to do all of this? So there was a period in my life where I was kind of questioning everything to do with a higher power, God. But I always had an interest in it, and I had an interest in energies. Energy was what I was about. I could feel people. I could sense how a person would be feeling just even before they walked into the room. And I would be very sensitive to that energy. So if I was around crappy people, I'd pick up that energy, and it would give me a lot of anxiety. Anyway, so when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia around 2015, after so many visits to the doctors where they couldn't figure out what it was just overall widespread body pain and cognitive impairment. So my constant brain fog and chronic fatigue. That's when I really realized that, something's just out of balance for me. Something's really out of balance. I really need to look at my health a lot more. So I got rid of a lot of my own skin conditions, everything by myself, through diet and through meditation.
Okay. So more of a plant-based diet. Well, so you said you were vegetarian before. So what changes did you make?
Vegetarian. But it would be I still wasn't eating the right nutritious food. It wasn't balanced enough. But also, even when I was eating healthy, the mind wasn't still. And with that sort of stress and anxiety, whether it's your work or your day-to-day living, we all suffer stress to some degree every single day. And look at the stressful situation we've been in this year. Everyone is off kilter. Everyone, this coming and going, lockdown, not lockdown, 6 people, whatever nonsense that we've been thrown at. It's emotionally taxing for everyone. Not one person's not feeling this. So, but luckily for me, I kind of had this understanding. It was almost like I became resilient to a lot of the stuff that and prepared for what's going on now. So once I got,
I think that's beautiful that you said that, because I think exactly that. I think we are being always prepared, if that makes sense. Like in some way, shape or forms, our guides are always looking after us, preparing us. Like I picked up a book which was all about the real history of the planet, probably about 6 months before, a lady called Patricia Corey, and it was all about the star seeds, and it was all about the Anunnaki. And I read this book literally 6 months before Corona picked off, and it was like the book was given to me to prepare me for the next stage. So I truly believe that whether we realize it or not is a different matter.
So I love this, right? These are terms that were alien to me, and in the 10 years where I wasn't watching the news and just reading books, it was about like spirits.
So what made you turn off the news? So this kind of awakening of the health, that you just decided it just wasn't good for your health?
Yeah, it's just because I wasn't doing it at a conscious level. It was my subconscious that was doing it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was like, I just don't want to watch it. I wasn't going out saying this is all like I am now, saying that this is just yes. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't even saying anything to that effect, that this is fake, that's not. It was just so much about what's going on with me inside.
Right. Okay. Yeah? So you were sent inwards basically to sort out your health effectively.
It was, the health. I mean, I didn't really buy it. First they said, oh, you've got fibromyalgia. I was like, fibromyalgia, right? And I looked at the spiritual consequences and the emotional connection to where is it that I would have manifested this. And I looked at that, because when I was eating really, really well, if your insides are just full of bag of anxiety and nerves, and I'm inherently quite a shy person, and no one would believe that. But I'm one of these dreamers, and I like looking in the stars and daydreaming and stuff. And then sometimes, as I pick up energies from people, I kind of just sort of enclose in, if that makes sense. So on the outside, it would appear that, oh my God, this girl's like, she does her own thing, business, she seems confident, she's got loads of things going for her. And here's me at another end, where I'm quite an introverted extrovert.
Yes, maybe my husband's a bit the same, because he's really an introvert, but he has this extroverted side that he almost kind of uses when he's in social situations, but actually he'd rather stay and read a book.
And I used to hate public speaking, so because my job would always be like in a B2B one-to-one, and then I was petrified of public speaking, although I've done a lot of public speaking, but it would be scripted. So I had the comfort of a script to speak, because put me out there in front of so many people, I would just be like, oh, this is a bit like,
too much,
out of my comfort zone. But I'd do it. I would do it, and I'd be okay at it. But it would just set me off into a tears all the time. So when I discovered this fibromyalgia, I sort of, as you do, you become a Google doctor, and you start thinking like, okay, like, how do I get better, and what do I do, and herbs, medicine, this, that, the other, and you start off on another journey. So that awakening started about 5 years ago, and simultaneously I started seeing numbers. So numbers were hitting me all the time, but I wasn't noticing them. But I wasn't consciously noticing them. I was unconsciously looking at them and thinking, I see this all the time, but with no idea of like someone's really trying to get through to me. They really have to. Alpa!
We've got messages for you. Please come in. It's time to wake up.
My guardian angel is just looking at me like this. This is my guardian angel. It's just like,
there's some great memes on Instagram about that.
I know, but that is me. What is she like? This is what it is. And I've actually had dreams about angels, and just nodding the head at me saying, wake up. Right? It's true. I have. My dreams are really funny. My friends are really funny as well. So,
So when did the numbers become conscious? When did you go from unconsciously noticing them to, oh, this actually means something?
So it was in 2016, end of 2016, the start of 2017, which is really significant with what's going on with the movements that are happening, with what's going on in America, and the Trump movement and stuff with the kids. It's all this like alleged conspiracy theories that are being churned out in the social media and the stuff that I talk about. So it was like number 17 is really, really significant at the moment in this show. Yeah, but mine started with 11/11, and I'm born at that time. So I didn't even make the connection.
Oh, you actually bought your time of birth is 11/11.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then in numerology, when I had a keen interest into inquiring, being inquisitive about numerology, astrology. I've really been fascinated by it. I can't say I'm an expert on any of it, but it resonated with me, and I could, really understand the people that I would listen to what they're actually saying, and that's where I started learning about ascended masters, the Galactic Federation of Light, and the star seeds, and Pleiadians, and
so what made you, I love it, because obviously I love hearing people's awakening journeys, because it kind of does come in waves, like you said, and it's wonderful, because obviously usually something will kind of rock us and shake us to wake us, is what I like to say. So the health thing, obviously, or the universe was slamming doors in your face, then the health thing, then of course the numbers started to come and the synchronicities. So and then obviously we had the Corona awakening. What made you, because one of the things I really liked was you obviously have taken a stand now for this work. Like, you've obviously woken up to what's been happening, a bit like myself, the full extent of it at the beginning of Corona. What made you go, right, I'm going to interview Charlie Ward and Charlie Freak? Like, how did you kind of go from waking up to then stepping into really kind of taking the mantle as such?
Very good question. And I was thinking that the other day. It's like, how did I even get here? Because I kind of had no agenda. And did I think any of this through? No. I woke up. It wasn't so like I just woke up and that's it. I'm going to speak to Charlie Ward. I have to give credit to a lovely lady that I crossed paths with. Her name's Monique. And we worked together when the lockdown happened, from March right up until July. I was volunteering every night for this organization called Under One Sky that were feeding the homeless every night.
Okay.
So
nice.
It was amazing. It was every single night for 7 days a week. There was 25 of us that started. And so I'd go and pick up the foods, and I'd go and deliver it to all the 4 different teams, and then we'd go on foot and then find all the people, because everything was closed in central London. It was so, it was dystopian. It was
yeah, it must have been like a ghost town.
To see central London like that, I'll never forget it. And things I also saw up in the skies, but I'll tell you about that later. While I was there in Trafalgar Square and giving out the food. So this lady who used to man the WhatsApp groups so that all the teams were working efficiently. I just engaged into a conversation with her, and I always, from my heart and soul, attribute so much of the stuff that she started awakening me up to. And again, in a very kind, non-pushy, didn't impose it on me, but it just made sense, everything she was saying. And it wasn't even like, oh my God, it blew me away. It was like, this is making sense to me, and I don't know why, because I haven't read up about any of this. So long story short, that's how my journey started. This was in March. So we would talk about all of this every single day. So then as we were speaking, she introduced me to Charlie Ward, and she goes, you've got to watch this guy. So I started, but then I got distracted from Charlie Ward. So she would update me on what he would be saying. So I didn't actually watch his videos initially, because I would hear everything from her, and she's brilliant at explaining everything. But for me, I went down the rabbit hole about the children. Aloise, I cannot explain to you how much that affected me. It affected me so much that I couldn't sleep, and I was bedbound. It was horrible. So I went in, and then I went into what was going on with all the actors and actresses in Hollywood, and I was like, oh my God, everything just makes so much sense to me.
It's like it suddenly clicks, isn't it? Like, I had the same experience when I woke up at 28. The guy who was sharing with me, a bit like the lady you were describing, it was like, oh my God, of course. What it was like remembering, I suppose, would be the way I would describe it. It wasn't like I just found that out. It was like I remembered, actually, oh my God, this is how it works.
Yes, but that was that sense of remembering, because bearing in mind, I wasn't bombarding and I wasn't consuming myself with outside noise. So there would be this confusion within myself. It's like, how do I know this? Like, how do I get this? Like, how do I get so many things? And this has happened throughout life. Like, you'd ask me about the latest movie or the music or whatever, and I'd be so like, oh, computer says no, I don't know. I just wasn't keeping up with all the new technology or the new this. I was just in my introverted little world of just going inside. So I used to feel a little bit out of place and having conversations about what movies to watch. My brother would be saying, have you watched this? Watch this, watch this, watch
Actually,
this.
what you were doing was very smart.
Well, the thing is that there's so many people now assume, they say, Alpa, did you watch this conspiracy thing? Oh, you must know that. No, because I'm telling you, I just didn't watch anything before, like pertinent to all these conspiracy theories about 9/11. I just wasn't there.
It wasn't on your
So,
radar.
so what, in answer to your question, what propelled me, it is okay, so I'll make it clear. I didn't engage much on social media, like, document everything that I was doing in my life. I put up the occasional pictures of a night out when I went out, because it would be not very much in the last year or so. But like, yeah, whatever, just a normal level of activity on Facebook, but not so intense where I was on it every single day. Like Facebook, I was on it for like a couple of years until what I'm doing now. So I wasn't active on social media that much. When I found out about all of this stuff, I said, I'm going to speak to Charlie Ward. So I did, picked up the phone and, message first, and then the rest is history. He said, yeah, let's have a chat. And that's exactly what happened. And I just wanted to share, like, that this is wrong, what's been happening. Why are people like turning a blind eye to it? It was a symbol for me. It's like someone gets
needed
killed.
to do something about what was happening and actually taking action.
Yeah, and why are we fighting over nappies over our face when the box tells you, it doesn't protect you from coronavirus? I got pushed, at least yesterday, day before yesterday, when I took my dog to the vets, and I wasn't standing adequately apart from this guy who just saw fit to push me. I politely said, he goes, will you just move over a little bit more? Can you move away 2 meters, 2 meters? I said, I'm all right. I'm all right where I am, because I had my dog with me and he was getting a bit agitated. And he just went, sort of goes, move. So he goes, you're an insensitive person and I don't want to catch something off you, but you saw fit to like push me.
Wow.
This is very telling of the mindsets that we're in at the moment. Okay, I got over that and stuff, whatever. But, where are we as humanity? It just goes to show the disparity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
you telling me you've been awake for this many years. I salute you. I salute you. Honestly.
Yeah, it's got crazier. It wasn't as extreme as this, I would have to say. Like, I concur with a lot of things that you did. I probably did them a bit more consciously. Though I tuned out of the news consciously, because I just once you're awake to energy and vibration, you can't watch it because it's so low vibe and it sucks the life out of you. So I very much stepped out of that for quite for years, since I woke up. And then, because my journey was, I had drug and alcohol problems, which was my awakening journey. It was kind of quite a rude awakening. And then I got into personal development and became like a personal development junkie, and did every type of personal development under the sun, starting with the Tony Robbins of the world, which I've now found out is a 33 degrees Freemason. But at that time, he was known for being good. But he got into that, and then I got into spiritual development, did all my Reiki, and then I started understanding that I could manifest and create my reality. And I set up a organization called the ATL Europe, which is Association of Transformational Leaders. And then I set up another one called the Network. And then I started to get the hang of this manifestation stuff and really kind of creating what I wanted to happen. And then I've now kind of gone in to teaching that. It's kind of like little step by step. But getting back to, because where I wanted to go is, what I loved is, what I found, which I'm hearing in your sharing, is you just follow those intuitive nudges, as in, you were like, well, why wouldn't I do that? Your voices didn't get in the way and say, oh, who am I to do that? You just wanted to do something about the situation. And consequently, I'm hearing that it's almost opened up a new path for you, because we were before we jumped on this call, you were sharing with me that you've got some ideas about where you're going with this business. And so can you maybe talk me through and talk the listeners through, because for people listening, Alpa for me is an incredible example of somebody who, yes, she's woken up relatively recently, but she's doing something about the situation. And what's happening is she's following what I would call her breadcrumb trail, you know, listening to the nudges, acting on them, and then it's opening new doors for her. So could you maybe describe what has been happening since you've kind of stepped into those conversations and the synchronicities?
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy over the last 2 3 months, but in a nice way, because it's first of all guided me, and it's felt very right that maybe this was my not maybe this is my calling, this was my script. Because prior to this, I just take it a step back, is that I had been feeling very unfulfilled in what I've been doing with the financial services, and now I know why. It just wasn't taking off for me. Whether with the 10 years ago, before when I was doing very very well, and then post 2010, where anything I was trying to do within this realm was not working, and I now know why. Um, I felt very alienated from what I was doing. So I just thought, surely I have another purpose. And I explored personal development. I've been on a few of the. I didn't go to Tony Robbins. Again, there was an energetic, a distance from all of that. You know, walking on the fire and doing all that kind of yay, that sort of stuff. I've been on a few and I really like them, but then afterwards it'd be like, right, well, I'm back to square one. Where is it that I'm going wrong with this stuff? And don't get me wrong, I love all these personal development courses, but it was before that I thought I have a higher purpose, and I felt this inner calling, but it depressed me, it saddened me, it made me feel so lost and confused. But what the hell is this? What is it? What am I supposed to do?
So many people are experiencing that right now, you know, and what you just described there, that inner knowing, that inner feeling of this isn't fulfilling me, this corporate job or whatever job it may be, that feeling of I don't really want to get out of bed in the morning and I don't really want to do this. That is like our sign and our signal to say, right, something needs to change and something needs to tweak. And maybe we're off this correct path, this dharmic path. I always bring it back to that.
Well, my Dharma's duty. Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be able to teach me a lot. And I think like I said, I just absolutely love the name. I stopped drinking around the end of 2017, and just like an ordinary person, going out, socializing, having drinks with friends, all that sort of malarkey. And it started in 2018 when I stopped drinking alcohol, and then I had a little stint for 2 months where I had a few drinks here and there, but I realized that the energy of what alcohol brought into my life was just negative. So even if I'd have one drink, I'd feel negative the next day, but I wasn't connecting it to alcohol. And, if we think about the word metaphorically, spirits, right? Spirits and ghouls, alcohols, ghouls. I started realizing that actually there's a lot of negative connotations to alcohol, and also the attachment that it can bring to you. So it can make you feel dull, you feel hungover or something for the next day, or if you go out, on the weekends, you've had a drink and you're just feeling tired after a night out. And now, like I'm up at 5 in the morning, 5 6 in the morning. I'm doing my meditation. I'm doing stuff early, and I feel great. And also because for fibromyalgia, alcohol wasn't great. It was like an astringent. It wasn't doing good for my health. So I just stopped. And I thought, and I haven't been having any chemicals in the products that I use. I fluoride. And I have a plant-based diet. I'm not perfect. I'll have the naughty sort of sweet things here and there, but predominantly, no caffeine, no nothing. Has this helped in my spiritual awakening? Of course, hell yes. Yeah, I think that's it. Heightened my intuitive capabilities. Of
course, you shifted your vibration up.
Yeah, I could discern things a lot better, but my sensitivity levels were just really high. Like I would be like, oh my God, like where is this going? Where is this going? What is this trying to tell me? So I felt like I've always been on alert, but still not clear about what my purpose and path was. So yes, fortunately, I've set up 2 businesses. And that's ticking along. And
so what's opening up for you now? So because it sounds to me like you're getting downloads. Obviously, I know you don't want to share everything, but you've kind of taken a different direction, and obviously has awoken something in you in relation to your passion around serving and helping on the planet right now and making a difference.
Oh yeah, there's so many grand ideas we can have, and putting them into action, getting them off the ground, that's a secondary thing. But at the moment, for me, it's all started with the sharing of my knowledge. Like, hang on a minute, this is not right. What's been going on? And then you come across the fight about, oh my God, you support Trump, you're a racist. Look, it's happening. Whoa! Okay, like this frequency noise, and my eye starts twitching.
What's the signal?
Yeah, it's like shock. Whoa, happened 3 times, but this one's like really trying to say something. You get into all these kind of energies where you realize, oh my God, this is not as easy as I thought it was. This is like, you assume bad things happening, you're going to share it with friends, they're going to be like, oh my God, that's bad. Oh, it's not happened like that.
No, we're quite isolated, aren't we, really?
Huge disparity between the left and the right. And I'm not talking left party and right, but it's left brain, right brain, which is what we spoke about on Charlie's show. So understanding that and understanding where we're at with everyone else's understanding, that's a journey within itself. I'm sure you'll agree, right? And where it's made me think, okay, where are we going to come out of this? We don't actually know right now. We're speculating with all the research that we're doing, and Trump's got handle of the whole situation. I have a lot of faith in a good outcome. Yeah, I really do.
Me too, but I still think we all have a part to play, if you see what I mean.
Yes, I do. And that was exactly what I was going to say. We need to do our bit. We need to evolve. We need to ascend as Gaia's ascending. And otherwise, really, it's going to be some, I hate to say it in a negative context, but there will be some catastrophes where people will just be so far removed from the reality of what's actually going on and displaced with a lot of the revelations that will start coming out. I know people are like saying that this whole stuff with the children's a conspiracy and it's all a load of nonsense. I find that really difficult to
fathom.
I find that really difficult, that you can fight with people over a mask because you think you're saving granny in the hospital, but you're watching me post things about people doing horrific things to children,
and you're not commenting on it. You're commenting. I had somebody, I interviewed Laura Ward from Freedom for Children, and somebody commented on that interview, but it wasn't around what the situation was. It was around some technicality that she had said, and I was like, whoa, I think you're kind of missing the point. You can pull up, but it's like, I think their brains keep them. It's the cognitive dissonance, isn't it? So it's like,
I had exactly the same thing. Someone pulled me up. I was, my post before on a story was something about, this stuff with the kids. No, nothing, no, not even like, oh my God, or really, is this happening? But there was a statistical error in another post. And they said, Alpa, stop, this is wrong. The stat, right? Left brain. And then a big lecture that if you're going to go out and post the stuff, you need to back your stuff up. Okay, I get it. I get it. I do. Family, right?
And how did you cope? How did you cope with that? Because obviously, having this conversation with family and friends, because obviously being out there, like I've seen your Facebook page, you're out there with your posts, what you're doing. You're kind of fully in the knowledge and sharing it. How have you coped with that? Because a lot of people listening to this are going through, I suppose what I'm trying to show through your journey is to help other people who are on this journey, because of course, all of us have kind of woken up to this. And I do believe we've all got a role to play in helping, be of service to kind of resolve the situation. So I'm just wondering how you managed to get through that stuff, which is people are going to think I'm weird and people are going to think I'm crazy. And how did you cope with that, especially around family?
So first of all, it was hard. This isn't easy, so I don't even claim for it to be, because I love my family, I love my cousins, I love all of them, but I love all my friends. But there was a point where them ignoring me or dismissing me or just pure silence was not important enough for me as a message over and above the revelations that I've had. Yeah. So call me whatever you want, that's fine. I'll take the hit on that. You don't have to speak to me ever again. I understood very quickly people's parts like in my journey. So I have an ability now just to be able to say, right, okay, clear cut, and be able to move gracefully away from a situation where I realize that relationship or that particular situation served its purpose in my life. With family, it's difficult. I understand, I hear you, but this is going to be for a moment in time. And I'm holding on to the path of what I believe to be the truth. And if I'm wrong about everything, and all of this was just some horrible boogeyman infiltrating the internet with all these terrible conspiracy theories, I'll humbly apologize. Yeah, that I got it wrong and that my intuition led me down the wrong path. I'm sorry, but I know that that's not the case. My higher self is telling me not. So over and above the friendships or the people that have decided to behave in whichever way they've decided to, and I get a lot of people writing to me, Louise, saying that, how do you do this? How do you cope? Look, I took a stand. I had no agenda. I didn't know where it was going to go. I'm about to do my own channel soon. I didn't even have to think about doing anything like that. But I had this curiosity within me, and a deep sense of justice. This has to come out because we've been deceived. And this level of deception has been the catalyst for me to really go out there and say, this is not right, at the cost of like losing friends. And what do I say to the people that are facing the same thing? Look, go inside the powerhouse that you are. Learn to stand on your own. Yeah, it's okay, because we're so used to instant gratification. We're just constantly needing validation from everything that we do without realizing, just because of the way social media is kind of
set
kind
up.
of yeah, well, it was designed to set people up for these kind of failures. Yeah, like to cause these depressive states and this anxiety and separation anxiety from their social media. For me, I've come on with a purpose and to use the platform for what I believe needs to be told. Yeah, I didn't promote any of my businesses on it. It was too much of a kerfuffle for me, to be fair. And all that whole idea of self-promotion and all of that was just a bit noisy.
Also what you're describing is wonderful, because it's also part of our evolutionary journey. You know, we are so conditioned to being liked and wanting people to like us and fitting in. And what you're describing there is, you know, something we have to go through, which is shedding our skins. You know, like what I love in your message was more important to me to help right now and be a stand for the truth than it is to necessarily have to baby or look after kind of relationships that aren't in the same place. And so again, for people listening, you know, we all have to go through this process. It's, you know, it's not just me and Alpa, you are going through this process right now. But I think what is on the other side of it is so worthwhile. Like we were saying, weren't we, before we came on, we're just meeting incredible people who are on our frequency and are at the resonance. And that will continue.
Absolutely, Eloise. And that's definitely something that I will encourage. You know, people have contacted me. I've resonated with people's pages. I've thanked them for shedding lights to some information or a post that they would have put up. I'll recycle that post. I'll just share it. And it's this energy of sharing this information that, you know, helps to rate the good stuff, and obviously the stuff that's not so easy to, you know, post. I get that too. I don't want to just be saying this happened with the children, because I could just break people, so I can just be making people depressed all the time. I get that. So, you know, you have a balance that, look, you need to know the truth. You need to know that this is how we've been played. However, let's raise our vibrations up simultaneously and like support each other. So people who are alone, let's take the example of this lady who wrote to me. She goes, well, it's my husband. I live with him every single day. Yeah. And it's my children. They think I'm nuts. So how do you get like that? I'm single. I have my freedom. I have my little dog, and, you know, my mum, she's kind of like, well, I don't know all of this stuff. It's too complicated for me. Yeah? She's like, I just don't know, right? But she's nice, and she's like, I'm trying to understand that, but you know, I get confused. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to deal with it so much in my face. But what about the people who are living in that situation? What about them? And I say this to them: stand in your inner truth. You don't have to go out. Not everyone can go out and speak about it on Facebook because of their consequences with work, where they work. Yeah. You still have to remember this. Yeah. People are going to be working in environments where they might be the only people that are awake and having to deal with them. Painful. And I feel sorry for those people. And my heart goes out to you. However, hang in there and entering into senseless debates that are just going to create bad energy between both of you. It's okay. You're not responsible for someone else's awakening. Just be responsible of what goes on with you inside.
Absolutely. And how do you feel about life now? Because I think that's the key thing I'd like to get across to people as well is, you know, we kind of go through this process, don't we, where like you were saying, you were kind of feeling a bit unfulfilled, you weren't sure what was happening in your current career, you know, life didn't quite feel right. And how do you feel now in comparison to them? Because I think that's the journey that we've got to go on. And when we have the courage to step outside this comfort zone of who we're supposed to be and step into who we really want to be, you know, then life kind of really opens up for us and gets, I would say, even go as far as exciting.
Yeah, I feel very strong inside, in a very vulnerable way. I feel vulnerable, excitable, and strong. I have so many emotions that go on a day-to-day basis, but I just know that the universe is ushering me into greater shores. Who knows where this is going to lead, but I'm very optimistic. I know that everything's not going to be plain sailing. I said this on Charlie Quick's show, that this level of deceit, this cognitive dissonance that everyone has, and when people are finding out about all these things that have been happening, and then they're actually saying, oh my God, it is true, and we actually get it, and they're starting to wake up to the other narrative, there's going to be healing required. A lot of healing, and a lot of people like yourselves, like personal development people will turn to meditation, yoga, going inwards and learning how to do that, because we're not taught. No one's taught. We're just taught. We've been churned through the academic fraternities, and it's just this system that we have to unhook ourselves from. So will it be an overnight thing? No, it's going to take time. So be patient with yourselves. I have been. I go through the journey, but I am very excited about where this is going. Where is it going? I've got a few ideas, and I'd like them to manifest.
Well, I would like to say thank you.
Your course.
Yeah. We are more than welcome. Like we actually have an academy of people who are set the intention of, they create a vision for their life. And then we help them, we support them as they build whatever it is that their vision is. So I'm very excited to see how it unfolds for you, Alpa. As I said, I really wanted to get you on because I just think you're a fantastic example of someone who's, you know, really stepped into their purpose and is an inspiration for people listening. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. And then we can obviously wait. And I would suggest that we release this when your channel is up and running, because then obviously people can then find you and come and follow you.
This is fine.
Yeah, but can they find you on Facebook? How would you like them to connect with you?
Yeah, Alpa Sony. You can find me on Facebook at the moment. My channel is going to be Alpa Sony, so they'll see my picture.
Excellent. And we'll put all the details in the show notes. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you hearing your story, hearing your journey, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds for you, because I just really feel that you are totally in tune, totally listening, and incredible opportunities are unfolding in front of your eyes.
Who knows? Let's see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.